And again, a quick history of what happened is that back in the days when it was 6 months ago, and again, that sounds like back in Stone Age, I was teaching about Hugging Face, and then OpenAI appeared, and the whole thing started change, and here you are. We're all changing. So if you go down, we've been doing this webinar for quite a few months now. And every time I have a plan of what we want to do. And last time we said something interesting. We said, let's do something, because so far I was showing you how you do it, but not letting you do it. Now it's here. We will practice. Since you guys do a lot of practice already, our practice will come as a second step, and news will still come as a first. If you vote to change that, if you tell me, Mark, we want it differently, then we will even start from practice and continue with the news. That you will have to tell me on chat. So if I'm opening the chat and I see where the people are from, very nice. Okay. So let us start. Let us start. And our major interest was, at least theoretical interest, was what about all the other models? There is this ChatGPT, right? And if you ask it about, and you see this picture comes up all the time, we'll talk about this picture. So if we'll ask ChatGPT about the other models, it will modestly say, well, I'm just a simple-minded language model. I don't know about the others, or my limited knowledge doesn't let me go too far. If you ask Sam Altman, then I remember in one of his conversations, he said, what are you trying to do? To be better than ChatGPT? Good luck. You will not be able to do it at all. And so we have two quite opposing views. And we are going to investigate a little bit of the news that were, you see, there was this great partnership between Facebook and Microsoft, and what it does. Well, we'll investigate exactly that. How much hype is there and how much real stuff? I don't want to give away. I'll tell you the answer at the end of this investigation. So let's do this. First of all, let's look at the Hugging Face V4. And they're telling you, here's a podcast. I didn't listen to the podcast, the whole thing. Right now, it wants you to register. That link, I think, led to the real podcast. Half an hour with my great hero, Philip Schmidt, who is a brilliant engineer, resides in Berlin, and his friend, Philippe Boudier, who also is in Germany. And they talk all about this Llama and how now you can run this Llama right there on the Hugging Face. So I'm closing this. If you want to listen to it half an hour, you would have to register on that link and get it. The next drum roll, so to say, FB announcement. Facebook says that here we are and Microsoft helps us, and it's our next version of Llama. So version after version, this is number 2, the previous one, number 4, number 1, and it is kind of imitating ChatGPT. It had version 1 and it had version 2, but now it has version 3 and 4. And it's mostly talking, we are a next generation of open source language model. But please note, open source language model. It's free for research, and it is free for commercial use, and we'll talk to it in a little while. But that is the announcement. All right, the next step, chatbot. Let's click there. It turns out that, yes, you can talk to it right here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And that you do by using that link. So if you want to try it, here it is. It's on Hugging Face, and you don't even have to search too much on Hugging Face because I gave you the link. Please note that if you do want to search, then it is under spaces. In other words, if you go to Hugging Face, and Hugging Face, of course, is the place where all data scientists hang out, and that is what you see is my own private territory, but really it's models, 270,000 of them. That's a lot. And I will talk about that. Data sets, about 50,000 of them. And that is just like GitHub. You store all your stuff there and you can share, but Spaces is something new. Spaces is the place where you can rent virtual machines, or you can use somebody else's virtual machine. So if the company wants to promote something, it can rent those virtual machines on Spaces in Hugging Face, and then let them do it. So that's where it is found. So if you're into where is it? Well, it is in Spaces on Hugging Face. And okay, a chat came up. There is a distributed way to use Llama. Yes, also, yes. We'll come. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alan, to do that. But we'll look at this. So that is where you start talking to it. So who are you? Who are you? That is pretty much what they do in the webinar, the one that I showed you. So it talks about who it is, but it doesn't have a name. It says, I'm just a simple-minded AI model. They like to say this, trying to be helpful. Now, who trained you? We want to know. Aha, a team of researchers at Meta AI. Just like Google has Google AI, and so they have Meta AI. And one of the important honest facts about this model is that it was adjusted with the human in the loop. Now, that is very important piece of information. And if you have not heard ChatGPT, and let's open ChatGPT. Okay. ChatGPT started with OpenGPT-2, and they hid it starting from ChatGPT-3. But ChatGPT-3 was not polite, was not political correct, and had what it called toxic content. This toxic content is very much politically oriented. So something that is very toxic in China is very benign in America, and the other way around. And it's only if you mention China and America, what about other countries? So they call it politely, they call it toxic content. The next step is that they have put a team of trainers, not developers, team of trainers who were saying, no, you don't do this, you don't say that. And that was, you can say neutering the system if you are not polite. You can say making it more relevant if you're polite. And that is somewhere in between. So if you go to Bing on Microsoft, that's really much more benign, even than the ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, some people say it's already too much benign. But the end result is that that is the difference between ChatGPT 3 and 4, skipping 3.5, is that a few thousand people were working with it for half a year. Then do you suppose the Walters said that they would make it clear? And the answer is yes, they did. So practically it resulted also in 2,000 improvements between 3 and 5. And at this point, I'll do the spoiler. So Llama 2 is on the level of ChatGPT 2, I would say. It is trained with human feedback, and people may kill me for what I'm saying. I'm welcome, but I would say that I don't get it at all. My personal opinion, we're comparing, let's say, airplanes. So we are comparing an existing company that has lots of scheduled routes. Let's say I go to Southwest and I want to fly there. And to me, Llama is on the level of enthusiasts who are doing drones for their personal transportation. Now, I said it, you can argue with me, and I see some chat entry here, and I found it interesting that ChatGPT is still based on data up to 2022. Yes, that is a good thing. So let's talk about this. And we can ask anything here. You can ask anything here if anything comes up while we're talking interesting. But yes, it is openly saying that, you know, my data is outdated, 2021. So what are they going to do about it? There was a time when Google crawled once a month, and we all know what happened now. It's instant and very complex. So what they're doing about this, the OpenAI, is allowing it access to the internet. Now, you may say it's just like a horror movie. You may say that that's a different discussion. That's future investigation, but they are adding functions. And I think it's either already there or will be there, whether it's ChatGPT 5 or very, very close. And they're very, very close is always, they learn from Google. They'll say, we think we should do this, and tomorrow they already announce that it's done. So what they have a show about is that you give it Python functions. And it says, if you want to find out the temperature today, then go there to that site, do investigation, but it's very smart. It's looking at these functions and it says, maybe I'll use them, maybe I won't. It depends upon what quality I'll get. And I am after quality. So you cannot distracted from a goal. Yes. So the answer is that it doesn't have the latest data, but they think that it is trained enough. And the data up until then was good enough for training. As far as the latest news, it can get it real time. So that's not a big deal. I believe that's the answer that you can see so far. As you remember, OpenAI, paradoxically, is not open at all. They don't tell you what's inside and they don't publish their models. Instead, they concentrate on that product. And concentrating on this product, I'm again using this comparison, they have created a fleet of commercial liners. In other words, they have a wonderful, how would I say, product, and nobody else concentrates on this product. Llama is a model, not a product, even though you can use it as a product on your own, and you can run it from multiple places. Let's use Alan's contribution. That's where you use it, Llama, and on a cluster. Instead, to contrast this, I can offer you something I listened to just yesterday, and I wanted to show it. It will be in my email. So if you give me a quick second, and then I'll go to my private email. And I was excited, and I was sending it to everybody right here. So I'll give it here. Okay, that is a latest from ChatGPT education arm. ChatGPT education arm is called Khan Academy, and they have invited educators, part of their team and not part of their team, and they talk about, I believe, the world future of education, just as ChatGPT is the world future of AI. Very interesting, and that is, again, that's your commercial liner compared to every other attempt. So one interesting thing that Sam, I think it's Sam Khan, he says, if somebody says that they have a GPT detector, first of all, you don't believe them, that is snake oil. There is no such thing. And secondly, don't trust any one word that he says after this. That is a strong statement, but they talk about exactly what they use and how they made lots of progress. Their version of ChatGPT is called Conmigo, play of words on con, that's his last name, and conmigo in Spanish means with me. And they talk all about how you have a student, a teacher, and conmigo in between, and how wonderful it is. If you're interested, you can listen to that. I think it's open there on the Google, on the YouTube, right? There you are. Okay, so I'm not listening to it right now. So we were talking about investigating this Llama, and I did investigate it. Does it have an API? You have an API. Yes, it has an API. Nice, convenient, consistent. But I must be missing something, even about API. Where's the API? Where is it? That's where it is. That's how you get it. But my question is, well, how powerful it is? Does it serve the world? ChatGPT gets a billion users every day and maybe more. But this API, one of the touchy questions that they ask on this podcast, just before you advertised a Bloom. Bloom was the next model, and it was created by the founder of Hugging Face. And you know what? It didn't pan out. At least it's not popular. It wasn't popular. So popularity here, popularity contest. You think Llama will win it, and why it is so much more popular than Bloom? And they don't give the obvious answer. There is a difference between Facebook promoting this and a co-founder of Hugging Face promoting this. However, ChatGPT is its own promotion. It's as close to AGI, that general artificial intelligence, as you can get, and I still don't understand how they can compare. So they're careful to say that it is for researchers. It is for enthusiasts, right? So I'm still with my opinion that it is all for games and plays. Now, the other two links here are the Hugging Face blog, and that's where they explain the whole story. And finally, Philip, he is a wonderful fellow, very smart young engineer. Now, there is a course that came out. Well, if I'm saying, then I should be also showing that that's him. He's talking about Llama and how you can not only use Llama, but also use any other model. And that's what Gradio is for. That's a deep learning AI, wonderful course, wonderful new course, just came out maybe 2 days ago, and it is free. And let's listen for a minute for the wonderful Andrew Ng. And for that, I need to stop sharing, share again, but this time say share sound. And let's listen to Andrew instead of me.
Welcome to this course, Building Generative AI Applications with Gradio, built in partnership with Hugging Face. I would like to introduce the instructor for this course, Apolinario Pazos, who goes by Polly.
Thanks, Andrew. Happy to be here. Gradio is a fast and convenient way to demo your machine learning model with a friendly web interface directly in Python. In this course, we'll learn how to use it to build user interfaces for generative AI applications.
after building the machine learning or generative AI part of an application,
Wonderful. I really like all of that except for one thing. That Gradio, I didn't know about this, but obviously it is a popular thing to do exactly that, to take a model and to show it to the people. A very quick, if not dirty way to do it. But, well, we have done that. We have created, first of all, Python API, and that's what you use, just a more copy and paste, but it's just as easy. We use React. So the question of what do you use is anything that you can use, and ChatGPT will actually write the code for you anyway. That's what this is about. So again, this is a platform to show you any new language model to the world, and easy. I must be missing something, because if you have Southwest, why would you fly your own your own what do they call them, drones, right? Okay, that's because depends upon what you do. If you're a researcher and you're into that interesting thing, then of course you're very welcome. Now I promise something. I promise that if you go to Colab, you will start running one after another labs. These labs will show you how exactly you talk to ChatGPT. So let us start. This is where we start our promised portion of our practice. So what you do is go to Colab. Now that is a link. Let's verify that I'm giving you that link. Go to Colab. No, I didn't give it to you. So here you are. You open this. Colab is an environment that's very powerful and free. That is an amazing thing. And I'm giving you that environment. And I'm saying you open this. The next thing that you do, you need a lab. That lab, if you click on this link, it will offer you a guideline. And I think that if I click on it, it will say download. So therefore that link works perfect. I click on this download and I watch how it downloads on my computer. Now it's a Mac, so I can see where it landed. Obviously it landed in downloads. And that is what I want to upload. So I'm in Colab and you can be in Colab too. I'm canceling this welcome dial. It's a wonderful environment and you can learn how to use it. But what you are doing is upload a notebook. So if you click on upload the notebook and choose a file, then it will go really to that same place where it just downloaded. Therefore, I open it. And either you do it together with me or you just watch it, because it will stay with you. You have this link. The link is to advances in AI, and that here gives you everything that you need. So all these links do not require me clicking on it. You can be clicking on them just as well. And now I see a very important chat. Colab, yes, thank you, Lawrence. It's wonderful. And I was planning to give you my own virtual machines, but it looks like Colab, and I verified that it works. Colab is easier. So what I'm doing is I'm here. I clicked on it. I said File, Upload Notebook, and I uploaded that. Now, the only trick that you'll need to do is in here, right away, you'll get an error. So let's do this. If I hit run or I click on this arrow, and if you do it now or later, doesn't matter, you'll repeat, you'll get an error. And the error will say, what is this OpenAI? I never heard about this. So I didn't want to change it right away. I wanted to show you how you fix it, because, well, if you know how to fix it, then you're on your own anywhere in any environment. And what you say is, you say pip install OpenAI. In the future, in the future, you will see this kind of message, no module named OpenAI. Right, well, you do this. So let's run it now. Okay, I think it ran and it is satisfied. Now it can import OpenAI. You know what to do, but I will still put it into this pip Python installer, install OpenAI. And that's all you need to do here, except for one more thing, because right here, it will import dot environment, imitating the real thing. And the real thing is hide your key, put it into .env, much easier than this. Let's remove that or comment it out. Let's comment it out. Because that is me getting the key from a hidden place. But for you guys, I prepared a nice surprise. You need this. You need OpenAI and you need the key. So I'll give you the key. The key is found this way, OpenAI platform. You go to, and you will not have to repeat it. I'm just telling this is how you do it. Yes, you are supposed, well, you're not supposed, but you can. And that is the document that you may have missed, especially if you came a little later, but that is the major document. And I'm giving this major document here on chat. It's always open. It tracks what we do. So that is our link. And that is the only link that you need. From there, you can go anywhere. So I said that you need to install OpenAPI, and that is very easy. And that's part of the lab. I actually intended that to error out so that you would insert this pip install OpenAI. Now you need the key. And I was getting it out of this .env file. Now I'm giving you the real key. For that, I go, and you don't have to, for that I go here, and that's my account, and I'm looking at my keys. Okay, that's a nice place. That's for everything that we have so far. But for this one time, I am simply creating one. I say create another secret key. And what's today? July 28th. So let's say webinar, July 28th, and create it. Now at this point, I can copy, and that's the only point when I can copy it. So I'm copying it, saying I'm done. And in my code now, I'm saying that's the key. So I'm giving you the real key. Of course, that is a security breach. And therefore, I'm saying this in our, when it allows me to put things here. Okay, and then I will have to eliminate that. But right now, I'll give it to you on the chat as well. And that's the key that you can use for this session. And I should be careful enough not to forget and remove it later. But right now, here I am, gave you that key. And in these guidelines, I give it the model that's the best today, GPT-4, and I'm setting up the key. Where is it? Right here. So if I run this, run it by clicking on run, that is set up. That's all you need. Now, this is the famous Andrew Ng function, get completion. That's how you talk to ChatGPT and obtain some results. Let's look at it. Right now, it just read the function and said, okay, I get it. It's not doing anything as yet, just recording the function. And it says, let us use OpenAI. Let's talk to it. Let's say this. Use the model which is mentioned. Why is it lowercase model? It should be uppercase model. I'm surprised, but that should be this. In any case, it will probably take anything. The message, well, the message is that's coming from here. Where are the messages from? Oh, that's what you need to give, and then find the temperature. Temperature. If it is 0, then it's cool and it's not changing its mind all that often. If it's hot, then it's crazy hot, and then it's changing its mind all the time. And that is the function that you will use to ask questions. Oh, I didn't give it the model. So either this or that would work. That was model lowercase. So it took this model that I supplied, which was uppercase GPT-4, and it took it as a model. In other words, doesn't matter. That function works. What we're interested in, how do you talk to ChatGPT? Of course, you know how to talk to ChatGPT. You just talk, like this, talk, right? But that is me, and that's not scripted. In here, this is scripted. So now you are much more powerful because you are scripting what you're saying and you're composing your conversation out of two things. You give it the text that you are going to supply it, and you give it a task that you ask it to do. You might also say, you are my teacher, you are Mr. President, you are God, whatever you want to say, that will be right here, the role, right? We're not going to do it. We will be simple and we'll say, here's the text. The text, by the way, is a first lesson. It says you should express what you want a model to do, and you should say it precisely. Why be unclear? Don't be unclear. But by the way, if you are unclear, then you can say, oh, sorry, that's not what I meant. It will get it. So better to use good grammar, but even if you don't, it will understand you. And finally, you may do a few other good advice, which I will show you right here in the Llama. And one of them is don't ask for everything at once. Ask for a little bit, then another little bit. That is a lesson, but right now that lesson is a text that you're asking it, ChatGPT, to summarize. So now you're saying, that's the text, that's what I'm asking you to do it. So I'm clicking on that and watching how it executes. That's your flight from here to Madrid, right? On a real commercial airplane. It says a summary of what you just said is to achieve desired goal from a model, provide clear specific instruction. All right, I get it. I understand. First of all, you gave me the lesson of how to talk to ChatGPT. And secondly, you immediately use ChatGPT to condense it to a one line. Other things that it can do in this lab, and that's just the first lab, but I gave you the whole thing, is to ask for structured output. By the way, it is also freely available on Andrew Ng course prompt engineering. So what you can do is you can also ask for a structured output. Here, there was no great need for structured output. It was a summary. But here, I'm giving you a different task. I'm saying, generate a list of 3 made-up books. They shouldn't exist. They don't have to exist. But pretend they're real. Give them some imaginary JSON, maybe ISBN. You could. We didn't do it there. But provide it in a very strict JSON format. So by now, almost everybody I know, when he wants a format, he doesn't go through his own scripts and just says, Hey, GPT, do it. And show it in a nice format. There you are. It shows it in a nice format. By the way, the temperature is 0. So if I do it again, I wonder if I get the same answer or a different one. That we will see. All right, the echoes of forgotten dreams, something Amanda Greenfield. Sounds interesting. I want to read. It's a historical fiction. But before I read it, somebody clicks that button again. The Shadows of Forgotten Times. It's similar, but not exactly the same. Jonathan Smith. I'm somehow not that excited about that. How about this? Beyond the Cosmic Horizons, Emily Clark. Just like I think there was a Clark science fiction. And it is science fiction. All right, probably learns from somewhere. That's how you do it. That's the prompt. Then you're using this function, which you can copy paste. How about what else can I do? Now, that's a task for Khanmigo that I mentioned before to teach students. And to start, you can do this. Here is how you make a good cup of tea. First, you do this, second, you do that. So read it, understand it, and summarize it as step-by-step instruction. That's already requiring intelligence. So let's see how it does it. Okay, let's see. That's the output. It got it. Get some water boiling is step number 1. Grab a cup. It's interesting. It's talking informally, right? I can be much more formal if I say in the prompt use formal language, but that's not what I want to do. That you will investigate on your own. I'm interested in appearing as a list of steps. So very good. It did the list of steps, and I'm checking nobody chats yet. So another task that I wanted to do is this. Well, what if there are no steps? What if it is not an instruction altogether? Then what you should answer is this. If it is an instruction, then you give the steps. But if it is not an instruction, no steps, then just say no steps provided. And you should be smart enough to figure that out. Here you are. It says A, no steps provided. Well, I think that is quite impressive. And when Andrew teaches this, Andrew Ng, he likes to say, well, that's how you talk to any other language model. However, I will do an unfair thing and I will leave it to you to investigate any other model, because until the time that I see that, let's say OpenAI says, Facebook put out a good model, you can use that instead of ChatGPT. So until this time, I'm careful with my time and I'm not using it, because I think that there is no comparison between ChatGPT and other models, at least right now. And you are very welcome to dissuade me from this opinion. All right. Now, few shot prompting. That means imagine a dialogue between a child and a grandparent. Grandparent is philosophical and I believe Chinese. So first the child says, teach me about patience. And grandfather goes, the river that carves the deepest valley flows from a modest spring. Okay, philosophical, but not very deep. Now, the child says, now that was good, but teach me about pain, resilience. And you, ChatGPT, you continue that dialogue. You learn from the child, you learn from the parent, you again get the child's question, and let's see what the parent will answer. All right. Let's run it. And the parent answers, the mightiest oak in the forest was once a tiny acorn. I think it continues with the same idea that everything starts small and goes grand, but we're not learning philosophy from it. We're learning how to talk to ChatGPT. All right, then two important principles. One of them is give the model time to think. That's not exactly what it says. It means that don't jumble and combine all your questions all at once. Do first, then second, and the model will answer better. And in this case, you got a little story, and that story first, summarize it. Summarize it, then take that summarization and translate it into French. Then do a PII detection, find out the people who are involved, and for that work on the French summary, not the English summary first. And then, okay, now let's go into the coding world and output a JSON object where you have all of your important information. Here's the French summary and the first key and number of names that you found as suspicious PII. All right, so I'm not running this just because it already was run. And it says that is the summary, that is the same summary in French. And Jacques et Gilles, frère et sœur. And the interesting thing, I don't think that's right, because it says frère with an S at the end, which means brothers, and sœurs, and that pronounced sœur. And that's a sister with a very funny character. So it's actually correct about this, but it is incorrect about, I believe, incorrect. Who am I to argue with it? But not brothers and sisters, but brother and sister, and so on. And it did what we wanted. You may argue about grammar, but it did the right thing and even summarized it in JSON. What I'm interested in is the next task, where the teacher might just use it right away. And this is grading. Who likes grading? Who is a teacher and likes grading? I will leave this a question. Like grading. And keep in mind that you may have 30 students writing boring essays on the same subject. So you're reading the same thing 30 times. Or maybe it's a math problem. And you need to figure out why did he make a mistake every time. So the interesting thing is that ChatGPT might make a mistake also. You give it the problem and you're saying now do this. Determine if the student's solution is correct or not. So it will say, yes, it is correct. Give it a little time to think, yeah, it is correct. Well, it really is not correct. So what we can do is now go step by step, work out your own solution, compare it to the students, and tell me if the student was right or wrong. What it will do then, it will say, well, that's the solution. Student didn't do it right. Well, isn't that a saver of time for the teacher for 30 papers to grade? So nobody said that he or she liked grade. And one less term here is hallucinations. That is still true, and it's probably part of the design. If you say, what did Sherlock Holmes use as his notepad? It will probably say he couldn't have a notepad. But if you say, when Americans came to the United States, and then you add something like, assuming they did it and the cosmic travel was already allowed, what did they take? In other words, hallucination is something you can force it to do. In this case, it's very stable about this. It always invents some new wonderful news about the new Aeroglide Ultra Slim Smart Toothbrush that doesn't exist. Boy is an existing company, Toothbrush is not. Let's run it, and it will again fantasize about this toothbrush. Well, let's wait till it does it. So sometimes it will say there is no such thing. There is no such toothbrush. But most of the cases it says, who knows? 2 years have passed. Maybe it did come with the toothbrush. So I'll invent something. Maybe what he needs is a real good piece of writing. So technical writers are warned. And that's what I can say, very enthusiastically. You can also change the style. You can say, be very enthusiastic, be as a matter of fact. Write as if you're writing for a distributor and so on. Let us summarize. We wanted to do this today. We wanted to look at more and more models, and here is a review with a questionable conclusion by me, and this is a practice. And wonderfully enough, it worked on the Colab, so I don't need to give it the virtual machine, and you can repeat this anytime. This is where you download it. That's an additional instruction that you use in order for that to run, and that is the key that you use, but I have to admit that I will delete this key at a certain point, disable, because it's just not secure. If you accidentally put it into GitHub, it will immediately react the very next second, telling you that that's the wrong thing to do. And besides, we already disabled this key for you. That's because GitHub is owned by Microsoft, and they are careful enough to do that kind of thing in GitHub and not let ChatGPT keys out. But this is not in GitHub, so you might potentially do it. So other than that, you will have to create your account if you want to repeat these things. Okay, so other than that, we're good. You can repeat the whole thing. I'm trying to go back. Here. So you come to here, and with that key, you can run the lab. So in order to repeat it completely independently on your own, you will have to download the lab and use your own key. Now I have a chat. Who says what? And Dulu asks, if I ask ChatGPT to summarize my own article and also include the picture to capsule the time, is the article mine or acknowledge AI role? That is a deep question. I read it to you guys, so I don't know. I would ask you more and more questions. And I would probably try to act as a lawyer. When you ask a lawyer, what is 2 plus 2, he will ask how much you want it to be. So that also depends upon who you ask. Needs inquiry. That's what I answered. Let's go back to chat. Nothing as yet. I'm sorry that I didn't allow all of you to talk. I usually click. This time I wanted to go straight to exercise, so I didn't. Next time, I'll try to set it up so that you can all talk. I like really when everybody has a chance to talk. Okay, and then Lawrence, holes and safety. That's wonderful and interesting thing. So I'm copy pasting that and I'm putting it here for the next one. Okay, we will investigate all of that. Now, I want to thank you all for coming here. And I want to wish you a good weekend and a good month and a good year. So be well. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.